Holy, here we go again, Batman.
Holy crap, guys. Marvel just announced their Phase 3 movies, all of them, through 2019 or beyond. I don't really remember. But it is all super exciting, and that's not what we're talking about today on the Nerdsync podcast. I know. I'm so sorry. We recorded this before that announcement happened. It literally just happened about 30 minutes ago as I'm recording this intro. We recorded this podcast a couple days ago, right after the Age of Ultron trailer came out. So that's what we'll be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the Age of Ultron trailer, as well as Marvel Civil War, which up at the point when we were recording was just a rumor and not confirmed in any way, shape, or form. But of course, now we know that that is not the case anymore. It is officially confirmed. Captain America 3 will be titled Civil War. So forgive us for when we're talking about this podcast, we're talking about it may or may not happen. This is all just speculation and rumors. Yeah, we know now that it's going to happen. So, just kind of play along with us there a little bit. And we'll be talking more about this amazing Marvel news next week. Hopefully we'll be joined by a special guest, so stay tuned for that. And let's just jump right into it, guys. Let's jump right into this conversation. We get a little bit sidetracked, a little bit more so just going on rants about what we decide, like what stance we choose in the Marvel Civil War, pro-registration, anti-registration. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. So, I don't think I make a convincing side for my stance. So anyone who's with me, help me out in the comments and on Facebook and Twitter. So anyway, let's get right into it. The Nerdsync podcast, and stay around for the end for some more of me talking.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Did we know the concrete release date for Ant-Man?
I have it in my calendar. Yeah. Why?
Like they actually set a concrete that this is happening on this day?
Is it July 19th? 17th. It was one of the two.
Because I'm on Marvel. I'm on Marvel's
Fantastic
website.
Four's June. Hold on, what was Ant-Man? July 17th?
July 17th.
Fantastic Four's June 19th. I get those confused. Yeah, I put that in the calendar already for spoiler cast dates.
Oh, yeah.
So I have 3 months in a row: Age of Ultron, Fantastic Four, then Ant-Man, all within a month of each other.
May, June, July.
That's right. Get on board with that, guys. Clear your schedules. Age of Ultron trailer came out, and it was glorious.
It was.
It was so good. So we're going to talk about it today. I'm Scott.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Bryce.
And, all right, first of all, guys, the one thing that struck me from this trailer, James Spader has an amazingly creepy voice, and it just captivated me.
It is absolutely, like, that is not what I was expecting at all, honestly, because I had no idea about the character of Ultron or anything. Like, we've discussed this before. I don't know that much about comics.
Sure.
But, as I'm trying to get into it and stuff, and people were like, oh yeah, Ultron's going to be in the next Avengers. And so I didn't really look much up on it because they released kind of like that first concept art looking.
Yeah, are you talking about with Iron Man and Tony Stark?
Yes.
Iron Man and Captain America with Ultron in the back or whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they released that, and I was like, okay, well, that kind of gives me an idea what's going on. But then this trailer came out.
Yes, it did.
And I, was not expecting that at all. And I have to say, I'm glad Ultron looks the way he does now, rather than the first kind of arting we saw of him, if that makes sense. Where he just kind of looked like a, red-eyed, like, slits for
eyes, black dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, red eyes, black dragon. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
But, with his fully animatronic-looking face, the eyeballs move, and everything, and, his face shifts around.
That's something that a lot of people I've seen online, mostly positive reviews that I've seen about him actually having a fully movable mouth and eyes and facial expressions instead of just a static robot face. You guys like that?
Chris.
I'm Bryce said
partial. I'm kind of partial to it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
It's cool and everything. Me and Scott, we already kind of talked about this. I just don't understand, or I would like to know the logic, the behind the scenes part on why they decided not to adapt what the character looks like in the books. I know some things don't translate well to screen, like we already said, static robot face is less interesting, but I feel like that's insulting to the audience a little bit, like they think we're stupid, so they got to change it.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like the reason that they make his face have all those movements to it is to show more emotion than.
Well, of course. I mean, we already. I mean, they even said that on the internet that this is why they're doing it. I just hope that they're doing it to make it better and not because they think, oh, audiences will not be interested if it's like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because I've always pictured when you read comic books, you start hearing the characters' voices in your head because, like, you want to hear how they sound or whatever. I don't actually hear voices, guys. I'm not crazy. That's not. No, but I've never pictured Ultron to sound like James Spader. I almost pictured him to sound almost like a Cobra Commander type character.
G.I. Joe's, no.
Exactly. I've always pictured him to sound like that, and I kind of like what they're doing with that. And with the voice, I like the added emotion to it. I pointed this out to Ricky when I watched the trailer. I was like, Ultron teeth. Ultron has teeth in this trailer, and it's super unsettling, and I like it, and I like it a lot.
The movements of his face, just give you this creepy... Like, honestly, if I would have seen a static robot face, I would have just been like, okay, crazy robot. But when I see this, I think psychopath. Like, this guy is nuts, and he's about to just destroy everything because he's crazy.
Right.
I'm so excited for this movie, though. Yeah, so what do we think is going to... Well, first of all, we should talk about how the trailer was released. So first it was leaked online.
Leaked.
It was
leaked.
Quotation
supposed to premiere during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep, and then... So it was leaked... As Bryce was saying, quotation marks. It was leaked online, and I love Marvel's response to it on Twitter, which was like, dang it, Hydra.
That's fantastic.
Perfect response.
They just embrace it.
Yeah. And then they just released the full thing on the internet same day, a couple hours later, and in glorious HD, which was amazing because the whole time Ricky and I, as we were watching the leaked versions, because how could we resist, right? We were watching the leaked versions, and there's so much terrible quality to it. We were trying to figure out what's happening. Who am I missing? What characters are these? I can't even tell. This is not super great. And then Ricky kept saying like, enhance. And then it finally came out with the HD one. And yeah, amazing. So super excited.
I have to say, I think part of what gives it such a cool, like that creepy vibe is just that song. They took
Pinocchio.
A childhood Pinocchio, happy, giggly, upbeat song, and had little kids sing it in the background.
They slowed it way down.
Yeah, they slowed it down so much. And then, like, at the beginning, you get a really cool glimpse of, like, Ultron's kind of, like, first form. Like, where he steps out of the shambles, like, in pieces, and he's, like, dragging extra pieces of metal behind him. And he's like telling us about the problems with humanity.
That was so creepy when it's like
so
broken
creepy.
Robot with the arm that like wouldn't bend, and it was
yeah. It's
goodness.
almost like seeing like from a satanic demon movie or something.
Oh,
like
sure. And like
after they've been crushed, they stand back up like bent in a bunch of weird ways.
Yeah,
and
people who are
like,
possessed by demons just can contort their bodies in really odd
That's
ways.
what it-
and that's
yeah, that's what
you're
it
right.
reminded
That's totally
me of.
what it seemed like.
And then, of course, you get to the end, and the movie cuts out, and he just kind of cocks his head from side to side. There ain't no strings on me.
That's right.
And you're just like, oh my gosh!
And I've been using hashtag no strings on me on everywhere on the internet because I just love it so much. I was gonna say, I think it was Mr. Sunday on YouTube who pointed out, like, wait, if they're using that Pinocchio song, does this mean this is another one of those gritty Disney reboots?
No, what is happening?
Disney reboot.
Yeah. So, what do we think based off of this trailer? What do we think the plot of the movie is?
I was going to bring that up just a minute ago. Does anybody get the impression that there is a lot of plot in this? Like,
oh my goodness.
Like in introducing Ultron in the movie and him being in this, and it's supposedly connected to everything. I mean, does anybody else get the impression that there's going to be a lot of story in just this one movie?
Yeah, too many plots. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like, I was going to say, I feel like a lot of the things that we saw, And again, I'm going to drop Ricky's name in here because we talked about it so much when it came out. His idea, Hulk is losing, like Banner is losing control of the Hulk, which is why we see him like in the fetal position, kind of freaking out. That's maybe why people were away from all these other movies, because they were trying to go capture the Hulk. Maybe that's how the team got back together, is because they all teamed up to like really early on in the movie be like, oh, hey, we have to go get Banner because he's losing control. And then Ultron stuff happens.
Well, didn't we just talk about in a podcast previous to this about as he starts to lose his ability to control the Hulk, that like S.H.I.E.L.D. would try to contain him and then set him loose on random cities to, take care of terrorists.
Yeah,
or
just
whatever.
Random cities. Yeah, no.
Okay, not random cities,
Los
but
Angeles,
specific
for
cities to,
Yeah,
take care of
they would either put him in like an area that he wouldn't hurt anybody, or they would put him in an area where assistance is needed. Like, if there's like a big robot or a big monster or something, they'd be like, "Here, Hulk, go take care of business." I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I mean, who knows?
Well, I was thinking either that, or my other theory is because we start out the trailer with Ultron kind of stumbling out of the rubble, and I forget exactly how he delivers the line, but it's like, this is the problem with humanity, or this is the problem with society.
He says like, you're all just puppets on
you're all just puppets on strings, and I wonder if that
tangled up in strings. That's what it is.
Yeah, I wonder if that has something to do with him trying to turn the team against each other. And I mean, we know that Tony Stark doesn't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. already anyway, because Tony Stark's kind of like his own guy. He does whatever he wants to do.
Right.
And just as now we know from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that Maria Hill is employed by Tony Stark. So Tony Stark already has S.H.I.E.L.D. working for him pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I guess, do we think he's connected enough to know that S.H.I.E.L.D. is still around?
Well, no, because he still thinks that Agent Coulson is dead.
Right.
Right.
So maybe he just
S.H.I.E.L.D. is dead.
Yeah. So maybe he just hired Maria Hill.
Well, and he doesn't know yet that Nick Fury is alive, because even S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know Nick Fury was still alive.
That's true.
So Tony Stark is pretty much starting his own S.H.I.E.L.D.
There's all sorts of crazy plot just everywhere in this.
Mm-hmm. So I saw on a very clickbaity website that I do not trust and is not reputable at all, that I won't even name, that they thought throughout the trailer we see a lot of Thor without his hammer, and we see like one scene of him dropping his hammer, and people are like, maybe he's not worthy. And my first thought was, my first thought is like, there's a lot of stuff in the first Avengers movie where he doesn't have a hammer because he's just sitting around talking to people. That's very easily what could have been in those scenarios, but I don't know.
I saw that too, and I thought the same thing. I was like, can we really draw those kind of conclusions from this?
No.
It's just,
I mean,
not.
If you go back and watch the original Avengers trailer, which I did, by the way, it's so goofy compared to this one. It's weird. It's a different experience. And anyone listening, pause this, go watch the first Avengers trailer, and then watch Age of Ultron again. Then watch the first Avengers, and then you can see how completely different they are and how kind of goofy the first Avengers trailer is. But I feel like Thor doesn't have his hammer for a lot of that trailer either, because he's just standing around in the helicarrier, and why would he have his hammer around? He could just place it down without worry that anybody else would take it.
It's not like they could just pick it up and walk away with it.
Exactly.
I don't know. The trailer it was dark and everything, which I liked. I like the no strings on me angle. The only thing I'm worried about, what I've already voiced, is the fact that the plot seems a little large in scope. Now, it's not a worry for us because obviously we know Ultron and everything. It's not just like the whole plot threads throughout the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, are not that much of a mystery to anybody who's read the comics. But for audiences that may not know, I'm just kind of hoping that Joss Whedon juggles this really nicely, and it doesn't feel rushed. Like, oh, here's Ultron, bye Ultron.
Right. And I've heard that people are speculating that a very similar feel of some of the plot stuff in the first movie might carry over in terms of like, so in the first movie, Loki took Hawkeye and turned him into his personal slave kind of, soldier. People are saying that, there's a couple, there's like a quick glimpse in the trailer where Ultron and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are just like standing by each other, almost as if Ultron was the one that freed them. And
that was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, they would be like, Ultron's the one that freed them. And so now they're like, well, we're just going to help you out, buddy. And then so it's going to be Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver versus the rest of the Avengers. But then maybe later on in the movie, they'll change sides or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Scarlet Witch was screaming about in the one. She was like, I don't know what to do.
Now, see, I have another theory about that, though. I mean, this could... again, I want to say that anything we can say is pure speculation because we are not plugged in at Marvel at all, and it's all guessing and could all 100% be wrong. However...
Don't yell at us.
Because there's an army of Ultron bots. I assume there's probably a real name for them in the comics. But that's what I will call them. There's a whole army of Ultron bots, and very similar to how there was an army of Chitauri. And this, unlike how the Chitauri just all kind of fainted and passed out after the nuke went off, I don't want that to happen again. That would be really lame.
That Star Wars moment where all the droids shut down when they destroyed the mothership.
Yeah. I don't want it to happen again, even though this time it would make a little bit more sense if they like shut down Ultron and be like, well, now all the Ultron bots don't work. But what I want to happen, or what I think should happen, or maybe a better solution for it would be Scarlet Witch goes, like crazy with her powers and kind of almost like a no more mutants type of a thing. She does no more Ultron bots and completely everywhere around the world uses all of her power
all of them.
And then destroys them. And that was her screaming in pain because that's all that she could.
Taking all of her power, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe she dies in the process and we don't have to worry about putting her in a sequel or something. And then we have less characters to worry about.
Not to spoil it, but do we know if she's signed on for any more movies, or is this the only one she's signed on for?
I don't know. That's a good question. Chris, our resident fact checker, do you have any facts on this?
There have been really no facts surrounding
I have
that.
no facts.
But I will say that just because nobody said anything doesn't mean she's not
true
in future movies. So the lack of facts may in itself be a fact of its own.
I gotcha. Now, there's also a quick scene in the trailer where it appears Captain America is in the past. Did any of you guys see this?
Where he kicked in the door?
No. Where he's at I think it's a USO show in the past, like dressed how he would be dressed in the 40s.
I didn't see that.
It's a very quick glimpse. It's like it's maybe like a third of a second in there. But I went by frame, guys, so you know me. I'm very thorough. Yeah, so a lot of people are speculating that it's either a flashback or there might maybe be some time travel involved. That would be weird. That seems like another tacking on another plot in there.
I would assume it'd be a flashback to something.
Yeah, like something that maybe he remembered, like, oh, this was a very similar thing, and maybe I could remember how to shut down Ultron via some technology in the 40s or something. I don't know.
Well, we have to speculate that there were, not speculate, but remind ourselves that there were flashbacks in The Winter Soldier, and this is coming right off the heels of the events that movie, so it may be connected somehow between Bucky Barnes and, Tony Stark's legacy, I guess.
Sure. And, I know Peggy Carter's going to be, I think she was confirmed, Haley Atwell's confirmed to be in the movie in Age of Ultron as Peggy Carter again. That's why some people I've seen, again on that very clickbaity, horrible website, that they were saying it could be a time travel thing where Cap goes back to the 40s and finally gives Peggy that dance that he promised her all those years ago. And I'm like, why would you put that in?
Yeah. Why would that be necessary at all?
No, I guess if he was there for another reason and all of a sudden he saw Peggy and was like, well, you know what? I want to dance with you or whatever. Fine, maybe, but I don't know. That seems a bit much to me. Not that I wouldn't want that to happen, because I do.
Yeah, it's not that I'd be against that, but they'd really have to make that fit somehow, and I don't know how they'd do that, especially as dark as this looks. Oh, hold on, dance break.
Dance party, and then it's like a Spider-Man 3 dance break.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Oh, my gosh,
set in the 40s.
Revisit that.
Oh, goodness. An aside here, I was actually talking with one of the Nerdsync patrons today on our Hangouts, and he said it would be really funny if in the Amazing Spider-Man 3 they made a nod to the dance scene from Spider-Man 3, and like Andrew Garfield would be like walking by a bar, and then there'd be some guy dressed like Tobey Maguire dancing, and he would just be like, well, that guy looks dumb. And then
or if they had Tobey Maguire actually dancing.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
I would love that so much.
I think it's perfectly okay if they spend a large chunk of their budget just to either hire Tobey Maguire or do some incredible CGI to make it look like Tobey Maguire dancing in the background. Totally fine with me. 100%
or if Andrew Garfield does the hair thing and he does it in the mirror and he's like, nah. Like, I'm not
no, that's not me. That's not me at all. Oh, boy. That movie was a train wreck.
Except for, I have to give Spider-Man 3 credit, though. The 10 minutes of Venom that were there, I liked a lot. So it will always have a spot on my shelf because of it.
Fair enough. Does anybody else have anything to say about this trailer? I liked it a lot. I can't say that enough. Obviously, I've said it probably about a dozen times that it looks super good.
I think something I want to bring up really quick, and I hope this doesn't take too much time. But something we haven't mentioned yet is the Hulkbuster.
Oh my gosh, yeah. How could we have gone this far without mentioning the Hulkbuster?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, are we moving on? I really hope not, because Hulkbuster.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I want to kind of touch on something you said, Scott, which was a lot of people were like, oh, Tony Stark just finally got tired of being, buddy with his friend
Science
there.
Bros.
Yeah,
being science bros.
And they were just like, he just got like super mad at him and was like trying to destroy him. But then, Scott, as you pointed out, he doesn't just have the armor on. Like, he doesn't show up in a full set of Hulk armor. He's wearing his regular Iron Man armor on, and the Hulkbuster armor is flying in.
Kind of like
attaching itself
like the
to
Mark
him.
42 armor.
Rumor
Exactly.
time. Rumor time.
Yes.
There is a rumor / speculation that Tony Stark was involved in Banner's accident. Like he's never said anything because obviously Banner would be like, dude, come on. Why?
Oh, you mean this was in
really?
the Original Sin story that just recently came out?
Sure.
Oh, where did you hear this from then? If you
I read it on where did I read it?
The thing on the internet.
Well, there's so many scoops and rumors that come out every day, and you read it, and you're like, "Oh, cool, next."
No, this was there's a story arc that recently finished called Original Sin, and in it there was I think a tie-in or like a spin-off or something, or a short mini-series about Hulk versus Iron Man, about how Banner found out that Tony Stark was partly responsible for him turning into Hulk, and then there was some sort of twist at the end where it was really Banner's fault, and like Banner's original sin was pride because he didn't want to double check his work. So if he had just double checked his work, then he wouldn't be Hulk to this day. But Tony Stark didn't want to tell him that because he didn't want to be like, "You're actually the reason," and it wasn't just an accident. Yeah. So I think it was something like that. Yeah,
That would be kind of interesting to see.
To see those two universes connected a little bit more.
Maybe that's why if they do bring that in, maybe that's why we saw Banner curled up in a blanket, like shivering on the on the helicarrier or whatever they were on that plane that they were on. Because what if this is later on in the movie even though that was like kind of early in the trailer, what if that's actually later on in the movie?
After they fought.
Yeah, and he's already broken the news to him, and now he's like curled up in a ball, like losing it because he's like.
That would make sense because
I did that.
Yeah, that makes a little bit sense to me because I believe it's very hard to tell because of the compression of the video, but there appears to be in the background, at least to me, it looks like there's Captain America's broken shield and there's a small glimpse in the background of that scene. So I want to feel like that's that's later on in the movie. Plus, everyone looks really sad and depressed in that shot
they really
too.
Do.
Yeah. But that's another thing too is Cap's shield breaks and Thor's passed out or whatever, and he's also shirtless in some water because ladies. Yeah.
Because fan service.
Sure.
Sexism. I'm calling it right now.
Okay,
Why
Bryce.
is that necessary?
That's what this podcast is really about.
But here's kind of a theory that I just came up with that probably is never going to be true.
That doesn't matter.
It would be interesting.
Probably about 90% of what we've said so far is not going to be true. So why not just add to the list?
True.
Yeah.
That's true. But I was thinking about something, and there's speculation that we're going to get a new Captain America, right? So I'm thinking if we are going to get into the Civil War storyline,
good segue.
What happens if we lose Cap, right? And whoever takes his place, Tony Stark just is not okay with, and he's like, "No, you're new. You can't tell us what to do," and that ends up leading into the Civil War storyline where Iron Man and Captain America start butting heads and bad things happen.
Yeah,
I don't really know the Civil War storyline, so
we will get into that pretty soon. But there is some definite speculation and what looks like setup for a kind of team divide as well as some Civil War stuff. I mean, in the trailer alone, and this isn't new, right? Because we've seen in the Avengers that the team fights a lot. Yeah. But in this trailer as well, we see people like Thor being at Iron Man's throat. Obviously, Iron Man fighting Hulk as well. Cap just seems to be doing his own thing in the trailer. I don't know what he's doing. He's like, I'll stay out of it this time. Dance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to be here, so I will. Dance. Yeah. So the Civil War, that's a big thing that happened. We were going to talk about it last week, but then DC hit a lot of stuff out of the park with their movies. And so now it actually worked out in our favor because then we can talk about it this week with the trailer for Age of Ultron out. But Chris, you have our facts and rumors about the possibility of a Marvel Civil War film.
Here's what we definitely know for sure. We know that Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark will return in Captain America 3. We also know for a fact that he signed a new contract. It's known that Robert Downey Jr. was on the fence about doing more Marvel movies. They're very tight-lipped about future Iron Man films. So,
and the reason for that was because he was one of the early adopters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so
now he's old.
Well, but also they couldn't get him. They couldn't get him on the same contract they have everybody else on. So he's a lot more expensive than everybody else is. I believe that's true.
Yeah, he's a veteran player in this. Mm-hmm. So we know for concrete fact that for some reason Robert Downey Jr. will be in Captain America 3. It's also known now that next summer, 2015, Marvel is releasing their Civil War story arc again, the comic books.
Yeah,
we don't know if it's a reboot or if it's like a redo. No, they've shown us like the cover, which apparently looks like the old one.
Yeah, I remember looking at the cover. I think it has Captain America and Iron Man both kind of pulling on Spider-Man who's in the Iron Spider armor, I think.
Yeah.
Gosh, why can't we have that in a movie?
The Iron Spider armor?
I have so many answers for you, Bryce. Which one?
I know why we can't. It just frustrates me. Contracts and legal issues and
oh boy.
And the other thing that's kind of factual / speculative is the release date for Captain America 3, and that's currently running May of 2016.
Yes, which was going to be alongside Batman Very Superman.
Yeah, Batman.
But it is not anymore because they pulled it out a couple months ago. They were like, we can't compete with Cap 3 probably, especially now that it's going to be. Can you imagine getting Cap 3 and Batman Very Superman in on the same day as what they would have been? It would have been Batman Very Superman, and then it would have been Captain America Very Iron Man is what it would have been.
Captain America v Iron Man?
Yeah, probably. Man, that would have been a lot of heroes fighting each other in that same release day. Would have been incredible. I still would have seen Cap first.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, DC.
So for people like Bryce, or people that just need to be brought back into what the Civil War is, what the Marvel Civil War is. We're not talking like not the American Civil War.
I wish you wouldn't have gone back and said Marvel. I was really going to be like, well, you see, when America was having problems within themselves.
Oh boy. There was a funny joke about that in the what is it?
Racism
Cabin
is
in
not a
Cabin.
joke.
No. In Cabin in the Woods, when they meet an old guy, and he's like, "I fought in the war," and then one of the guys is like, would that be the blue versus the gray, the brother against brother war?" And yeah. All right. So what the Marvel Civil War is, in a nutshell, and we're not going to be tackling every single detail because we're already pretty far into this podcast as is. You can find lots of videos online about it if you want to know more, or just read the comics yourself. So the gist of it is that there's a big event, like a big explosion, where a city is basically destroyed and like 60 kids die, and it's all due to the carelessness of young superheroes, and the American government and all these people, and they want superheroes to be registered. And what that means is like giving up your name and your address to the government and kind of working as a almost like a superhero police force, and they put you in wherever you need to be at. And
officially known as the Superhero Registration Act.
Right. I think it's this. Is it the Superhero or the Superhuman Registration Act?
I thought it was. Man, it might be Superhuman. You might be right.
Doesn't really matter. That's just semantics. So what happens is Iron Man is very much for this registration because he knows it's what the people need to feel safe at night, to have superheroes that are held accountable and who are given proper training and make sure that they're not just out there doing random stuff whenever, but they're registered. And then Captain America is very much against this because it kind of goes against
America.
Yeah, it goes against what he believes America is about. Plus he's lived through wars, or not wars, just a war, I guess. I don't know. And that kind of reminded him of his whole thing is like one bad idea is all it's going to take to change the history for the worse. And that's what we saw in World War II, and I'm trying to prevent that now, and I just want to make sure that everyone has the freedom to choose and not just be instantly, arrested and thrown in jail because they don't want to sign and give away, all their identity.
Where's Captain America now, guys?
Bryce, I actually... We'll talk about this later. But anyway,
yeah,
so
this is getting into very deep details.
Yeah,
the story.
So that's basically the gist of it. Is one side is very much Iron Man and his whole team register superheroes. It'll put the American people at ease. It's what they want. Safety versus Captain America and freedom and all that jazz. So
also, if you want to play the storyline for yourself, there is a video game, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2.
Correct, which is fairly close.
It's close-ish.
It's close-ish, yeah.
But it's like, yeah.
you get a good feel for it.
You get you see the scene of I think it's the Stanford, I think is the city that gets destroyed. You see that play out. You see the ramifications of Captain America versus Iron Man. There's a lot of stuff that's very close in that video game, even some scenes that are ripped straight out of the comic books. So I applaud it for that, but then they kind of take a turn and they want to make a twist out of it and everything like that. So,
right.
But either way, that's the gist. Does that make sense, Bryce? I'm using you as a,
I get it.
Okay. So,
if anybody else doesn't understand, I'm sorry. It made the Bryce register. So
yeah, if it makes the Bryce register,
what to say for
I assume it makes sense.
Wait. Iron Man? There's a guy wearing iron?
No. He is iron. He's made of iron. Right. That's what they say in the comic, actually, in the Civil War thing, is he adapted his armor so that it's inside of him, so he is Iron Man. It doesn't matter. That's dumb. It's a dumb thing. Who cares?
Or it's Iron, comma, man. He is Iron, man.
He's Iron, man. Yeah, so there's the possibility of that, because, we've seen a lot of that. We've seen some fan art with that, and there could possibly be a thing. People are saying that Age of Ultron is going to make it. There's going to be a ton of destruction all around the world, and that's going to make Tony Stark be like, well, okay, guys, we need to, take responsibility for all this. We need to register, and we need to make sure that, people feel safe at night. And, Captain America is probably just like, no way, bro. That's not how I was raised. And then they fight. So, when it comes to the Civil War, I know that a lot of people might assume that it's all about secret identities, because a big thing that happens in the story is that Peter Parker reveals himself to the public. He reveals his secret identity as Spider-Man He takes off his mask. There's a big press conference, and everyone knows he's Peter Parker. And that's one of the big things that sticks out. A big thing that people might think about with Civil War is that it's about giving up your secret identity as a superhero, but that's not the case. It's actually it's just more about making sure that heroes are responsible and accountable and have good training. So
it just happens that you would have to give up your secret identity.
Yeah, it's not about secret identities. It's about making sure that these people are held accountable for their actions, because in Age of Ultron, there's going to be a ton of mayhem and destruction and property damage, a lot more than there was in Avengers. And even just adding on to that, it's like, well, now we really need to take some responsibility for this. And and Iron Man's like, well, look, guys, we need to make sure that the people feel safer. They don't need to know who we are, but we just have to at least, register and be like, hey, look, we're getting proper training. We're like on a task force. So there's like, some leadership involved, and it's not just everybody do whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of little bitty things that like make good points on both sides. It's not a one side is better, although my bias probably has been very heavily showing for what side I prefer, considering it's the only one I've talked about in detail. So with that said, with what you guys know about the Civil War Registration Act, heavy question, what side do you choose? Are you pro-registration, heroes giving up their identity and place of residence to the government, and also them getting like cards to make sure they're card carrying superheroes and getting training and before they're put out in the field? Or do you like, when you're a superhero, you do your thing, you go out there on your own terms, on your on your own responsibility, whether or not being actually held accountable, but just kind of going out there doing your superhero business?
Well, I have a couple points, I guess, to make, but I want to start this off with a question. Part of that is making sure they're trained correctly. Since S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone and there's no like League of Superheroes, who is going to be doing this training? The government?
That's a good question.
The U.S. government. This is all about having superheroes be official government workers, pretty much, like they're government enforcers.
I think
that's pretty much the thing.
That's where I have a problem with it. Is not that I don't trust the government, because everybody trusts the government 100% of the time.
We always do on the
basically
Nerdsync
be police
podcast.
officers.
But we've already seen like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where we've had the superheroes have already had clashes with the government, because the government's like, no, we need to know everything about S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like, you can't.
No.
You just can't. Yeah, exactly. No, that's the best way to put it. So the government trying to regulate that, I feel, is just. I swear I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's just one more thing that the government's like, okay, we have control over this too now, and
Bryce,
we're controlling
you're
this
totally
too.
a conspiracy theorist.
I am not a conspiracy theorist.
Sure thing.
I'm just
saying, man.
I can't help it. I would have to say I'm on Captain America's side, because, first of all, like that, the government, there again, having more control over something else. Okay, the government is supposed to be elected officials that we elect because they're supposed to represent us. But the superheroes are the only people that we can honestly say that we can trust, right? Or we're supposed to be able to trust, which they're again supposed to be able to trust,
and that's why you don't know their identities, to keep that trust.
Exactly. It's almost like a bargaining chip, I guess.
I don't know. I've always thought about it differently. Like, why Superman doesn't wear a mask is because to show people that they can trust him, that he's not hiding anything. But if you are wearing a mask, and it's like, oh well, what's he hiding?
Actions speak louder than masks, Scott.
It's not so much the mask, though. It's more like, why do they need to know who you are? You're the guardian angel out there. You know, why do they need to know my name is John Smith? I live on 123 Main Street. Who gives a crap?
I would like to.
It's more about, you need to know because you're nosy.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to point out that I've made a video on the internet about why I'm pro secret identity. So I'm not arguing that, but I do want to point out that I don't think I really touched on what happens if you're against the other ones. This is like, I've touched on what happens when you're for, but if you're against registration, then you get locked up in a very super prison in the negative zone that's like super depressing to be in.
Wait, how did the government get access to the negative zone?
Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic did, because they're heading up the whole pro-registration thing.
That's right. I forgot they were on their side.
Yep.
I was just like, wait, when did the government get a hold of the negative zone?
They've always had it, Bryce.
Though I want to bring something up that's funny. Of course, Tony Stark is for it. Everybody already knows he's Iron Man because he was like,
but that's not what it's about.
I am Iron Man. So of course he's for it. Of course the Fantastic Four are for it. They're already exposed and everything.
But
so
that's
they're like,
not what it's about,
sure.
Chris. It's not about secret identities.
Something I want to propose though too is that in the last Iron Man movie, we saw kind of a vulnerable side of Iron Man. He realized that once he lost what he had, once he lost his suit, once he didn't have Jarvis there to, help him every step of the way, he couldn't really do much. And
because
maybe
the Batcave thing didn't work out for him.
Yeah, it really didn't. But I think maybe he's kind of like, Iron Man is kind of like the Batman of the Marvel universe, where he's kind of got this contingency plan in mind, like just in case. Well, he's got Hulkbuster armor. Obviously, he's worried about the Hulk just breaking loose and doing something terrible.
Right.
So he's got to be able to stop him. He knows probably how to stop any of the Avengers. If anybody has this thought out, it's probably Iron Man. So this would go along with his motives, I would think. Mm-hmm. So I can see where he's coming from, and he would be very vulnerable without his suit. So of course he's for this. Because if anything, that would help his vulnerability, I guess.
Yeah. I also want to point out one thing of the comics that I thought was really cool, which was that you guys know who Happy is, right? Happy Hogan from Iron Man. His driver guy in Iron Man 3 was put in a coma or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he and Tony were talking, and Tony always kept referring to like superheroes as they, as if he wasn't a part of them, and he felt really bad because he shouldn't be the one making these calls about pro-registration, because he didn't feel like he was a superhero himself, because he was never bitten by a spider or exposed to gamma rays. He was just a guy, and Happy said Tony is the perfect candidate because he straddles the line between humanity and superhumanity very perfectly. So that's why he would be like a really good candidate for the leader of the pro-registration. But also, interestingly, in the Civil War story arc, Happy is also put into. It's a very depressing arc. Happy is attacked and put into a coma, and he says before then that he doesn't want to, live in the vegetative state. He would rather someone pull the plug, and Tony very reluctantly kills his friend. So do you think that'll happen in the movies?
I don't know. That would be something really dark. I mean, not that blowing up a city and killing thousands of people isn't dark.
Yeah.
But
well, it would also provide sufficient motive for Tony in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be like, hey, we need to kind of get this registration thing going so we know who's responsible for this crap,
Yeah, yeah.
Not saying I'm pro-registration now, but
you can totally see their
I can
side.
see where Tony's coming from.
Right.
Especially, I'm sure this was superhero related.
Yes, it was.
That his friend got, put in a coma. But another thing I wanted to argue as a point against the registration.
Go for it.
Is we've got all these real superheroes, with like powers and stuff. The point of this is to keep the, people that would go out without any training and cause problems, to keep them under control, right?
Yeah. I mean, to keep everybody under control.
Yeah, to keep everybody under control. I would think with people like Iron Man and Captain America, who aren't the Hulk, who might go crazy, who aren't Black Widow, who might technically still be with Russia, but we're not really sure. It's with people like them around, you think that if they saw somebody like, I'm totally a superhero, and then they go out and kill a bunch of people by accident, you'd think they would put a stop to it and be like, okay,
Right.
You stop now.
Right.
No, stop.
See, and that's rather than a registration act, I would rather just see a group like the Avengers, or almost like the Justice League, of the superheroes kind of coming together and watching over Earth and being like, bad things are happening there, let's go fix it,
Okay. I was thinking, do you think it'd be more fun to have like a space camp type thing, but for superheroes, where like if you're a kid who has superpowers, you can just sign up for a summer to train.
What
with
is
your
it in that
superpowers.
movie? Super High.
Sky High.
Sky High, yeah.
Gifted youngsters. That's what we do.
You're right, Chris.
I was thinking totally different.
Well,
way with
we can't do
yeah.
that because that's only for mutants. This is for anybody else. We can do Sky High for
Sky High. Let's open up Sky High.
Sky High was also for mutants as well.
I don't want to go back to that
part.
era of my life, guys. I forgot about that movie.
That was a dark time.
What? Anyway, yeah. So Bryce, you're anti-registration then.
I am anti-registration.
You firmly established that. Good for you.
I like my guns. I mean, what? That's what we're talking about, right?
Always got to bring up
kidding.
topics on the podcast.
I guess I'm next.
Chris, give us your name, your stance, your reasoning, and your favorite color.
Why do you need my name? We're already on the podcast.
It's an icebreaker.
My name is not important. I am
not important.
I am anti-registration because there's really no need for it. It's like, what's the point? They're basically going to be police. They'll already be doing what they're doing. It'll just give the government a reason to punish them somehow. Which that's not going to solve anybody's problems. Is punishing superheroes.
Well, okay, all right. Fair enough. I won't interject. That's fine, Bryce.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, to go along with that, like, what are they gonna do? It's like, okay, so the Hulk went around, smashed a couple buildings or something, and they're upset with that. So they're like, okay, we need this registration act. They get the Hulk to register. He registers, and then goes out and smashes a couple more buildings.
Well,
it's like, what did we accomplish here?
Well, it would be like the Hulk Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, where they would control the environment that they put him in, where they might like be, Banner, you can be in here and make inventions for us every week, and then when you're about to Hulk out,
it's not just registration; it's control.
It is control. That is true.
See, that's why Captain America is against it, because this is the government stepping in and forcing people. It's almost like World War II. They're stepping in and taking the Jews. I know that's like heavy thematic.
No, he literally says exactly that in the comics. Captain America really does. Yeah.
Yeah, and the government's not supposed to force anything like that. That's not what America is.
I'm going to have the unpopular opinion on this podcast and say I love superheroes, but I can totally 100% I see why we would need a superhero registration act in this world. Ooh. I know. Oh, Chris, hold on. Chris, really important. Stop the show. You didn't give us your favorite color.
My favorite color is blue.
Aww. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I just wanted to break up the tension. Dang it. I was hoping you guys would get over that. Dang it. Oh, boy. You know what? Just forget everything I was going to say.
Lots of down.
Who cares? Who cares anymore? I'm for it. And I don't like. I understand it. I like having superheroes roam free, sure, whatever. But at a certain point, I feel like they do need to be held responsible and accountable for their actions. And if that means that somebody else chooses where to put them and what assignment to put them on to make sure that they are operating the most efficiently, then I'm fine with that. Does anyone else have anything to say then, or else we're probably just about to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think so, because we don't have a big list to go through with.
Nope, it was all just speculation and talk and everything.
That was
pretty
much it. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, mostly us discussing.
Mostly just us arguing about the Civil War.
Politics are not.
Yeah, what if Civil War doesn't end up being the way they go with it, and then we've had this giant discussion. That's not the way they go.
No, I mean, it's fine. I've been listening to really old podcasts about comic book news, and it's so funny the things they're saying, they just announced there's rumors about an Aquaman movie, and everyone's like, no, that's not going to happen. And then
It didn't.
I mean,
they're doing things like.
You said there wouldn't be a Deadpool movie.
That's true.
And now look what Fox has done.
There you have it, guys. Our conversation about the Age of Ultron trailer. We may or may not put out a new video about it on our YouTube channel, going into more in-depth, that kind of, like a trailer breakdown like we've done in the past. So look out for that if that is interesting to you. And also, I just wanted to say again that all of the news that just broke recently, we will be talking about on the next podcast. And so stick around for that. And let us know if you are pro-registration, anti-registration, or what your favorite part of the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer is. Let us know on Facebook and Twitter, as well as in the comments below if you're on YouTube. And we are also, you can find this podcast, of course, on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and on our YouTube channel, Nerdsync Productions. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you right here next week for more of the Nerdsync podcast. See ya.